All right, Amber, are you there?
All right, thanks, Whitney. And usually I do try to join by video as well, but I'm going to try to save some bandwidth today and not join by video. So thank you all so much for being here. I'm very excited that we have these phenomenal educators joining us today, Maria and Sean. Definitely some of our rock star educators in not only in our organization, but I would say statewide as well. So thank you, Maria and Sean, both for joining us today. I wanted to just kind of start off a little bit by having each of you do a quick introduction about yourself, kind of maybe what your role is, the district or building that you are in, and then a little bit of how the e-learning climate is going for you in your district. Okay. Maria, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Maria Galanis. I'm the Innovation Curriculum Specialist in Deerfield District 109. It's a K-8 school district. We started our e-learning journey about probably the same time all of us did, 3-4 weeks ago. I've lost track of everything. But so yeah, I've had a obviously pretty big role as far as like trying to support everything. So it's been a combination of me creating tons of screencasts, trying to help teachers do certain things, trying to, communicate different things for the virtual meetings that are happening and like safety and recommendations and tips. And I guess like overall the climate of how things are going, we've had a lot of communication for our administration trying to just keep things at ease as much as possible. And it's definitely been a work in progress. I think this is our first week back from a break from having spring break. So teachers are really in it right now. And there's a little, a little worry and tension, and I don't want to say like burnout from it already, but it's still a work in process and everybody's just trying to find their groove in it. And, my role, and we also have instructional coaches, we're trying to just be as much of a support throughout the whole thing as we can.
All right. So I'm Sean Scanlon from Marion Catholic High School, and we are in week 3. We finished 3 weeks and then we went on break. So now we're finishing up our spring break and then heading into the next set. I guess we look at it that way. I've been in my role for 5+ years, but 25 years in education. And it's just been interesting as we've gone. We saw the first couple weeks were just brutal on some of our teachers. They were trying to do everything they do in their classroom online, and it was really dragging them down. By the time we hit week 3, we had talked quite a few off the ledge that were still struggling. And by the time we hit week 3, they were all really hitting a groove. We were still very thankful to see spring break show up to take that time. And I think going forward, I think one key thing that we're taking out of it is assessing less and assessing better. That's big. People were just collecting too much work and trying to grade and plan and everything, and it just wasn't working. So assessing less and assessing better, higher level of blooms is really kind of what helped get our teachers into that groove.
That's a great point, Sean. Thank you for mentioning that. I would say that I've kind of seen that transition as well, not only just from what my own son is doing at our home district, but through the conversations that we've been having as well. Can you dive a little bit more into what that transition looks like, and maybe give some examples of here's how we were assessing 2 weeks ago and here's how we are assessing now?
Yeah, so like math and science, like chemistry. Those are probably a couple of the toughest to assess in high school. And what makes it worse is actually some of the tech available to the kids. So if I push out any algebra problem, I can just use photo math and I can solve that problem. So who's really doing the work? We weren't really getting a clear picture of that. So one of our math teachers, we joke that we don't want to give him too much credit, but he suggested that using problems that are incorrect and having students evaluate the problem and demonstrate what's wrong, what the person did wrong in solving that problem. And it eliminates the whole quick photo math, here's the answer, and moving on without doing any work. So that's one really good one. And then social studies teacher just sent me his assessment asking, hey, does this look good? And it was amazing. It was writing basically a letter from the time of the immigrants that he's dealing with, and explaining different various parts, how it's affecting them living in that time. So it's actually putting those students directly into the time period and taking it much, much deeper. We're not asking who is the president and all those kind of questions. So a couple good examples there, I think, and we're just going to keep continuing with that.
Those are great examples. I love the one of having them think about, you know, here's the problem with the incorrect answer. How would you, you know, how would you fix that? That's great. And it's funny that you bring up the social studies aspect as well, because I think as a former administrator, that was often an area I struggled a little bit with social studies teachers, you know, because obviously that content is so important, right? You know, knowing the president, knowing the Constitution, and, you know, but at the same time, as you mentioned, you know, there is a lot of technology available. You know, students can easily get a graphic showing the president, you know, and have that information. So I kind of like that refocus in the social studies content area as well, you know, that you just mentioned. How about you, Maria? What are some types of, because I know you guys are at different levels. So Sean is, you know, high school level, coming from that perspective, whereas Maria is coming from that K-8 perspective. So what are assessments looking like for what your staff's doing, Maria?
You know, overall, everything that is being done across the board is only going to be helping raise the scores or whatever. Nothing can basically hurt any of their scores. And I believe, is that something that's pretty much across the board for everyone? Like everything done during this time now, remote e-learning or whatever's done can only raise, nothing can lower. For K-12 public schools, I can't speak for that for Sean. You know, the private districts may be a little bit different, but correct, that is what ISB has stated for public K-12. So we're really like embracing that whole thing in the district as much as possible. And I know a lot of teachers are just allowing students to share what they're learning in different formats too. If they can show it with like a video explanation and they're using Seesaw, they're allowing them to do that. They're being very flexible with how they're allowing students to show their learning now more than ever. And, you know, definitely keeping a point to reach out to students where if they are struggling or haven't heard from them and they're just touching base to see like, is there anything going on? Can we help? Whatever. So they're reaching out a lot more as far as keeping a pulse on like who's interacting in class and who's not. So that's another big thing we're trying to keep a pulse on as far as that.
That is what one of my hopes, two points you just hit on, Maria. A couple of my hopes of what will come out on the better end after all of this is over, you know, is one, really focusing on, you know, why we are doing what we are doing. And two, keeping a pulse on those relationships. you know, and how I think we're reestablishing how important that is clearly during this time, you know, but also at other times as well. You know, building that as the foundation for education, you know, I think is something that we've talked about a lot, and the importance of SEL and, you know, meeting those, what, if you recall at our at IDEACon when Dwayne Reed, one of our keynotes said, Maslow before Bloom.
Before Bloom, yeah.
You know, right? Yeah. So, you know, I think that's just reestablishing the importance of that. Go ahead, Sean.
Oh, no, you're good. You're good. I'm just not sick, just fighting a throat thing.
So, oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Another, I feel like another thing that I'm seeing throughout my district is we're giving the opportunities out there for the assignments or the learning. And because every situation is so different in every home right now, it's like we're giving it to them. And then also, like I said, analyzing kids who are maybe not interacting at all, but also giving them the opportunity to do this stuff, and whether they take it as far as they can, or, you know, everybody's kind of being a little flexible as far as like, we're giving you the opportunity and the lessons and stuff, but what we're getting back, everybody's taking into consideration what they're getting back, maybe why they're getting that back. This is a totally new world, and just considering a lot of different factors is into place right now, as far as like what we're getting, what kind of work we're getting back.
Yeah, absolutely. More of that really focused, you know, again, it brings you back to the differentiated instruction model, you know, of really taking a look at why is this student, you know, not able to access this information, or why haven't we heard from them, and, you know, making sure that you're reaching out. And yeah, I think those situations are very, very important during this time. One of the other areas that we've had some conversations about during some of these coaching sessions have been some of those applications or resources that you are using to, you know, engage with the students. So do either one of you have something specific that your teams have really, it's been kind of interesting too. Some people have said, you know, oh, well, a few of our teachers use this, but now every teacher's using it because they've seen the success of it.
Yeah, our math teachers have been using Class Kick for a long time, actually probably 3 or 4 years now. And so that's really come in handy because they can actually watch the students work in real time, whether they're at home or at school, doesn't matter. So that's helped a lot. That's one. And then Flipgrid has been great now with the new screen recorder. I think that's going to really help when we talk like assessments, that the kids can actually record. It's a lot easier than the old whiteboard they had. You didn't have a lot of room to write there. And now they could actually record themselves solving a math problem or science or whatever, and you can hear the process that they're going through. So those are two big ones for math for us.
That's awesome. I love that whole recording thing. And so in my district, a lot of the sharing from the teachers, we've tried to simplify it and have them use basically what they had been using before. So if they were using Seesaw, they are kind of continuing that. If they were using Google Classroom, they're going to continue that. What's come into the works from this new like world we're in has been, how are they explaining the assignments? How are they communicating with their students? How are they connecting? So some of the teachers, many of the teachers have jumped on the virtual meetups, trying to limit them so they're not like every single day, or maybe like sporadically throughout the week. So just for that connection with their classes, they're offering that. for the students who can't like make those sessions, you know, the teacher will reach out to them in a different way. One of the things though that I feel like has been even maybe a little more powerful than the virtual meetups has been when the teacher somehow makes a little recording, a screencast, an audio recording, a video message just to say, hi, I just wanted to, you know, say hi to everybody and sharing that. Those, because what I find powerful about those, number one, obviously students can watch those whenever. It's like a lot more flexible. It's a lot more helpful. Like if you're going to try to teach a new concept, you can just create like a quick 2-3 minute video explaining. If you want to use the webcam version of your recording, you could have like a little whiteboard and do like a math problem. This is how you do division, this new concept, I don't know, whatever kind of new thing that you want to try to teach, and you record it and share that, and then they could watch it over and over again if they need to. So I just feel like those little screencast recordings, webcams that teachers can share in Seesaw, in Google Classroom, the tools that they've been using to communicate have been really powerful. So yeah, those have been.
Yeah, that's a great point, Maria. It reminds me of when I was a director of technology, we were working on flipped learning, you know, and those screen recordings and those recordings of the content sharing was so important. And you're right, it's also helpful for those who maybe need to listen to it more than once to have that resource available. So I definitely, that's a great suggestion, you know, to be thinking about not only the benefit of just creating that if you're wanting to give content, but also having that available for the students to be able to review and go back to and or re-listen to as well. Great suggestion.
Yeah, there's, we've been using, we're one-to-one iPads, so the screen recorder on the iPad, you got to turn on the microphone though. That's a little tricky. Got to figure that out. But you turn on the microphone, you can screen record there. The one thing we're doing with those, or Screencastify, whatever we're doing, a lot of teachers are pushing those also into Edpuzzle. So they're getting feedback from students as they're watching those videos. So uploading them to YouTube and then putting them into Screencastify has really helped get the feedback from the students. And we're doing more synchronous learning. We're doing more class to class kind of thing. So that helps. Students can go there. They know that the students have watched the video and then coming back into class, so to speak. So those are some good ones that we like. Screencast-O-Matic, whatever works, whatever they're familiar with, but getting those onto YouTube too also helps with the issues like Amber right now is not on video because of bandwidth, right? So don't put big videos up there and expect kids to download videos. Put them on YouTube, let them watch those YouTube videos. That's something they're familiar with anyway.
That's great.
Great point, Sean. Great point. Sean, if you don't mind, just we actually have Kevin is also familiar with ClassKick, but Jane also mentioned maybe hearing a little bit more about ClassKick. Can you explain a little deeper about what it is and how you're using it?
Sure. I feel like that commercial, you know, I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV. Well, I'm not a math teacher. I'll do my best. And you could use this with any subject too. It's not just for math. It just works well for them. Basically, the teachers in ClassKick, you create slides, and then each slide would have a different problem on it. And then as the students are working through it, there's like a raise hand feature like we have here in Zoom. So the teacher can actually see a student if they're struggling. The student can raise their hand. Teacher can click in in real time and jot little notes on the student's problem on the student slide. So that works really well. and then all of that work is saved. They even now have a, I believe, an answer box. From what I'm hearing from the teachers, is they're the experts in this one now. I helped them find it and stepped out of their way. But there's like an answer box now that they can write their answer in, and it makes it a little easier for the teachers just to see that answer, but they can also see the student's whole work too. In a way, it was like Go Formative. It was a little similar to that. So though that's the best I can explain what it does.
That sounds pretty powerful. Thank you so much. And Jane, feel free if you want to come off mute and ask any clarifying questions or put them in the chat window. You're more than welcome to do that.
Sorry, thanks so much, Sean. I really appreciate hearing about that. You know, we're always looking for things that are going to make this time easier. And that class kick sounds really cool, but then you reminded me of Go Formative, which is also one that I've used before, and I really like that as well. Just
Right.
the real-time student work kind of check-in.
Yeah, and that's like you said, you already use Go Formative. If that works, great. You know, like we were already using Class Kick when Go Formative kind of really took off, and we looked at it and said, we're good with Class Kick. It kind of does the same thing, not quite all the same things, but you know, keeping that balance for teachers. I've put out on Twitter before, especially this last week and a half, I've deleted every email that said, here's 100 new tools to use while you're on.
Yeah.
I 100% agree with you. There's
Yeah.
too many new things are a little overwhelming. But
Right.
yeah, good. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's one of the things going into this we were trying to like keep teachers doing, is trying to use like the stuff that they've been using all along, or you know, just not overloading too many new things, if any really new things at all. There's been a few, maybe a couple new things we've introduced in the district, but yeah, trying to simplify and use the things that you're already comfortable with, your students are kind of comfortable seeing, has been kind of a key aspect to this. And I totally understand though, if like you're in a situation where you didn't have anything and there's amazing opportunities and companies like stepping in and offering such great services, then of course, by all means, use it, as long as it's not just like overwhelmingly a ton of new things.
Yeah, and some of these tools, we just dig a little deeper. I mean, even just like Zoom, everybody went, oh wait, I can do that. Oh wait, I can do that. And you know, Kim Darche, I think, posted the one day about the, what is it, the nonverbal feedback that you can add. And like, oh yeah, I mean, as soon as I saw that, like, yeah, that goes in. So just digging deeper in some of these tools too, that they're already familiar with. There's some really good stuff there they might not know about. Or we touched on one day and said, hey, look, you can do this. And then nobody actually did it, but now it becomes relevant.
The relevancy point is, yeah, you're exactly spot on, Sean. I think that we really are taking some time right now with everything that is out there and being inundated with so much, of looking at, you know, what is relevant and how can this, you know, one, engage the students in a deeper way, but to some degree as well, you know, make what situation we are in a little bit easier.
Right.
You know, so those are definitely, so kind of, I guess maybe on that point, is there anything that you are finding that has made your position, or, you know, or any of your teachers have found that it have made something easier, whether that be something that they did stumble across or something that they didn't realize, you know, was maybe happening? I know you mentioned Flipgrid, Maria, and the new aspect of Flipgrid. Is there anything else like that that you've come across in the last few weeks?
That's a great addition. Sean mentioned that, but I love that new thing with Flipgrid. I haven't really used it because we have video for school, the school plan, and that's kind of one tool that many of our teachers have utilized with their students, as far as like having their students be able to make like videos or movies or whatever. But like Sean mentioned, digging deeper and using something that we have in different ways, I would say WeVideo has been huge, because I love WeVideo too, Jane. Oh my gosh, there's so many, I could go on, but and on and on. But last Friday, our district had a day off for students, but we had like a virtual PD day. So it was our first one throughout this thing. And I was able to like give a couple sessions on WeVideo on how to screencast and how to do audio recordings. And this was mainly for helping the teachers share out with their students. And I would say that has been a tool that has just kind of changed a lot of teachers' worlds right now, and empowered them. And they've learned that this tool is, you know, more than just like creating like the movie or slideshow or whatever. And they're utilizing it to like take their classrooms and their like lessons to different levels. So that's been huge. And you could do that with the other one I like a lot is Screencastify. Like I said, WeVideo is just something I love using and I'm comfortable using, and we have it in the district, so we're utilizing that. But you could do it with a lot of different screen recording tools.
Yeah. In January, we did a PLC on more formative assessment and getting more engagement in the classroom. And one of the tools we were going through at that point was Pear Deck. Some of the teachers jumped on board with it, got going. But I think that student, what do they call it, student-paced mode, where you can push that presentation out, get the feedback from students. A couple of our teachers have taken it and run with it. I'm just going to throw in the chat, there's a link there to a really amazing like intro to Pear Deck, and it walks you through some different aspects of it. The nice thing is with Pear Deck, when you save your presentation, it's for the Google schools out there at least, it's going to take those and put all that student work right in a folder, all organized for you, so you can go through the student responses, and they're all Google Docs, which are shared with the students. It's really powerful. So yeah, I liked it before, and I love it now. So I'd say that's one kind of game changer. I think we're going to see a lot more of coming out of break. We saw a little bit of it going into break, teachers getting their presentations out there in another way and with more student feedback. And that's really what we are trying to achieve here.
I have to like piggyback on that and just rave about Pear Deck to everyone. I was a huge fan before, you know, this new world we're in, but I agree. It's just such a great tool to use with making your like lessons that you're already probably using interactive, and student-paced mode. And they just have so many great resources, and their communication, if you ever reach out to them, they're just the nicest, friendliest like company. And they have stuff in addition to like the add-on features that you might want to add questions to your current like slide decks that you have, your Google Slides. They even have like great templates that you could use separately, like SEL ones and just all sorts of different kinds that they have. So I agree, Sean, that's like one of my favorites as far as like the tools that we're using.
Thank you both so much for sharing those. Those are awesome. I love hearing the stories of, yes, we've been using WeVideo, and yes, we've been using Pear Deck, but now in this particular, you know, learning environment that we're in, wow, did these apps just take us to a whole nother level. So that's so exciting to hear. That's awesome. I want to make sure that we are also meeting the needs of those educators that are on today. So, you know, if you did join looking for a particular answer to a question, I know we did have some early on, but please feel free to put it in the chat window. Or again, if you are comfortable coming off of mute, you're more than welcome to at this time to ask any specific questions or get some suggestions. As you can tell, we have two very experienced educators with a great vast amount of knowledge that we can tap into at this point in time. So again, please feel free to ask any questions that you might have for Maria or Sean. If not, I have plenty raring to go here. So we'll keep the conversation going. So last week we had a special education teacher that joined us, and she was asking some pretty specific questions in regards to meeting the needs, you know, of her IEP students. So from that conversation, we actually ended up partnering with a company called Illuma Therapy. And yesterday we had our first webinar with them. And then tomorrow on Friday, we have a series of 4 webinars planned in specific special education areas. So one webinar is for special education teachers, one webinar will be for speech, one for OT, and one for school psychologists, mental health. So we're really excited about bringing those to the platform as well, to be able to offer help and support in those areas. But I'm just wondering, Maria and Sean, is there anything that seems to be kind of bubbling to the top, maybe in regards to special education, but maybe in regards to something else that really the educators are bringing to you, or that you're hearing discussions about that, you know, or is something maybe that we could help with finding some resources as well?
One of the things, I don't have a ton of feedback on this, but one of the things I'm finding that's working kind of nicely, it's slowly starting, because with our virtual meetings and whatnot, we're trying to, with a classroom, maybe that's having a meetup with their classroom classes, having a TA or another teacher joining in on that and kind of being a great co-partner in the class meetups. And one of the nice things with Zoom are these things called breakout rooms. So if you have a class meeting, you can create different breakout rooms where you can like assign different students to, and you might assign that co-teacher or a teacher or an assistant or you know, a teaching assistant in a little breakout room with a group of students, and have maybe like a little chat, just to like, as another form of like connecting and having like touching base with students that might need a little extra care, or just making sure that they're all okay. You could have like little mini groups in these sessions. So that's something that we're kind of testing out and trying to get more of throughout the district. That's helped.
That is, I love that idea, Maria. That's not something that I had thought about before, that kind of co-teaching model taken to the virtual world. Yeah. But that really is a great point, because I think that, you know, when you are the teacher trying to manage 30 students in a Zoom meeting, mm-hmm. you know, to your point, Sean, that you made earlier, you know, that Kim had mentioned, even those nonverbals, that's a little bit more difficult to manage, you know, on your own. But having that extra set of eyes and ears, even in a virtual classroom, can really make a difference. That's a fabulous point. I love that.
And it also gives different teachers that might not have a classroom, right? And they're a set of students, an opportunity to help out during this time, you know, because, you know, we're all, you know, working, and It just gives them another availability to help support in ways. It might be even a teacher that might not have normally, or a teaching assistant or whatever, a support staff that didn't normally do this kind of stuff, a branch to like help out in different ways.
Absolutely. So. Yeah, that's so true. Earlier this week, we had a virtual IDEA coach with us that teaches. It basically is not the main content area, right? So she was teaching. She's a computer science teacher that in middle school. The extra classes that the students can choose to take. And how cool would that be for her to be able to connect, with a grade level content area, and engage with them in that way. So, kind of your, as an instructional coach, but, in a very different way as the computer science teacher coming into the classroom. So great. Yeah, very great point. That's a great way to utilize staff that, maybe isn't needed, or isn't having as much content that needs to be provided to the students right now.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of, being a private school, I mean, special ed isn't something we're exactly great at, let's just say that. But the kids that do have the 504 plans, IEPs, in our building, they're typically, their study hall is smaller. They're put in area where they can get more help and support. So we're taking those same people that typically support those students, and they've created appointment calendars in Google, and share those with the students so they can make appointments with those teachers to get the help they need, the extra help they need. So that's helped. We're trying to put those students also into Hangout chats, where if there is information going back and forth, they're stuck a little bit, at least the teacher can then just jump right into a meet where they can actually talk face to face. So that's been really helpful so far.
That's great, Sean. So kind of like what we're doing here, for educators across the state, but at the building level for students. That's great. Are you finding students utilizing that?
They just started it end of week 2, beginning of week 3. So we've had it up about 5 or 6 days. A couple kids are getting into it. I think we're going to see more afterwards because we are, like you're saying earlier about the grading thing. As of right now, we're kind of holding like grades are grades for 4th quarter. So that's right when we started, was first day of 4th quarter. So we'll see how that goes. But as of right now, students still understand, like, your grades can go down if you're not doing your work. And we're watching that. Our guidance department is reaching out to students that are really struggling. I think if an adjustment needs to be made, we're going to make it. But right now, we got to support them.
Right. Yeah. I do think that, the longer you have that available, I agree. I imagine you'll see the use of it increase more. I'm even seeing from, my perspective as a parent, my son's a freshman, me having to kind of teach him and some of those self-advocacy skills, to remind him that, okay, when you don't understand something, now is the time for you to ask for extra help. Or, how do you email the teacher in an appropriate and polite, respectful way that you need additional help? And, but I do think it'll be interesting to see, students really learn how to advocate for themselves at a whole nother level than they did prior, to our home learning situation.
I'm hoping actually coming out of this that not only the self-advocation, but also students taking that ownership of their learning and teachers learning how to do that better in a classroom structure. I think that's one really good thing that could come out of all this is we could put more on the student as far as taking control of their own learning, advocating for themselves, things like that. we'll see, but hopefully.
Yeah, no, you're right, Sean, because, well, one of the first things that you said early on that I put in the chat window is who is really doing the work. You know, and I do think that as educators, that is a hurdle at times we have to get over, because we are naturally people who want to help others. That's why we go into education. That can be a great thing, but that can also be, you know, a negative thing, in that being sometimes we do too much work and aren't giving the students the opportunity to, you know, kind of do some of that. So yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I think this will have an opportunity to, you know, improve in that area, maybe giving the students that ownership and understanding that they do have to take on some of that responsibility to truly learn and engage and, you know, improve themselves.
Yeah, it's like that whoever's, you know, doing the work is the one learning the most. So it just, right?
Well,
Whoever's doing them, you know, look at
Right.
all the.
I do. That's why I love those opportunities when, you know, I hear the stories about the students teaching the other students, you know, maybe even within a grade or content level, you can do that. But, you know, sixth graders working with second graders, and, you know, high school students working with junior high students, like that really does make a difference. And I mean, I can remember just even student teaching. I remember, you know, and learned the content so much better in my first semester of student teaching than I had done the semester before, just trying to learn it sitting in the classroom.
True.
Oh, the days.
I learned how to do accounting last night, or the other day, helping my daughter learn accounting for her sophomore year in college.
Yep.
Right? Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. So true. Well, is there any other, as we kind of finish up here, we're at 15 minutes. And again, any of you that are on the meeting, please feel free to go ahead, and if you have specific questions or you want to ask about application or a resource or even an idea of something that you know, you're struggling with or your staff is struggling with, feel free to ask or put it in the chat window. But I always kind of like to finish up with you know, thinking about, here's where we are right now. Hard to believe that we still have at least 3 weeks of this you know, left. What is your thought about where you will be in 3 weeks from now, and the impact that this is going to have on you and or your staff and students?
So I'm only giggling because I just can't believe where we're at. Even like, I feel like week by week, it's exponentially changing. Everything just keeps.
Yes.
So I'm like, I don't know what tomorrow is going to look like. But what I you know, what I feel is going to happen at, you know, when we come out of this or whatever, people are going to reevaluate, reassess so much that they've done, and change and see, like, I don't know, it's just, people are learning so many things that they didn't even think that they were going to know. I did not know that I was going to have to like learn Zoom and pretty much everything about it, right? So we're all like learning so many different things and learning like how to reach so many different people. Like what even I'm doing in my role, I'm trying to like think of differentiating for all these different people at all these different levels. So I feel like we're going to all grow from this and get empowered, whether we know that right now, whether we like it or not. Things are going to change, and I feel get better, and we're going to learn so much and grow from it. I don't know where we're going to be in 3 weeks though.
No, I think you're spot on, and I definitely, you know, obviously, Sean, don't want to take away from anything that you were going to say as well, but I love that, you know, we have, as educators, we have been putting ourselves in the position of also being learners at this point in time, and therefore I do think it is making us better educators. and, you know, and empowering us to realize that sometimes maybe it is okay to give up a little bit of that control over, you know, what's happening, and good things can come from that. What are your thoughts, Sean?
Yeah, I'm hoping that I noticed at the end of our first 3 weeks, I figured that our teachers had either just completely given up or they had gotten it, because my emails went from, you know, 30 a day down to 3. So that was great to see. So I think they're getting control, but I think that differentiation piece is going to be big. I know I forgot about that when we were talking special ed before, and needs there. Teachers reached out, how do I change my assessment for these kids that normally get more time or things like that? Well, I mean, time is kind of irrelevant at this point, but but they can, but learning how they can take that test and change it for us in Schoology, to make a new copy of the test, to remove some questions, to change some things up to make it more acceptable for that student's needs. That's been big. So I think that differentiation piece, the fact that they had to do it for this reason, but now next year, you know, whatever it ends up being, like, that's an easy thing to do now, that I can make multiple copies of tests for different students. I can group students the way I want to group them in whatever the learning management system is you have. Those kind of things. The small group breakouts that our teachers are doing in breakout rooms in Zoom, or like all that kind of thing. I think differentiation is just going to explode for us, hopefully, down the road. So yeah, 3 weeks, I'm just hoping, you know, we're not spending as much money at the liquor store and we're doing better overall with our mental state. But yeah, but I think the differentiation is going to be one of the biggest pieces for us.
Yeah, that is so awesome. You both hit on two of my, I suppose, what I get on my soapbox sometimes about things in education. So it would be like a dream come true if both of those things came to be, because I think you're right, Sean. The differentiation piece is huge, and at any time, I think that one has certainly been thrown in our face in so many ways, right? Not just, you know, our definition of differentiation, but differentiation in regards to equity as well, you know, and what do our students actually have access to? You know, and, you know, what can we do for those students to differentiate even their ability to access what some of the other students are accessing? So let's hold to that and make sure that we make that happen and follow through on it. That would be incredible.
Sorry, one more little thing, just as far as like where we're going to be in, you know, at the end of this. I feel like the word empathy is going to take on a whole new level, because not only at every level, students, teachers, admin, families, whatever, we are learning through this that everything looks different for everybody. So we have to just empathize at a different level. You know, even being as careful as saying, you know, hey, students, when we do these calls, find a quiet place in your house. We have to be careful when we say that, even because maybe they don't have the quietest spot right now, because maybe they have like 5, you know, like whatever's going on in their house. So I feel like empathy, understanding, and like you said, Amber, equity, and all those things are just going to be a big consideration now more than ever.
Right. Yes. Right. Great point, Maria. Now more than ever, for sure. I just wanted to, I know Sean's responding in here, but I have to chuckle too about Kevin mentioning he has learned or attempted to learn how to help someone solve a problem with a device that he cannot touch or see. That is, yes, that is so true, right? Our communication skills have become ever so important as well, when you can't just point at it. Or so funny story along with that, my son takes piano lessons, and his piano teacher has gone to online piano lessons which again is, you know, a whole nother set of approach to learning and teaching. So true.
Yeah.
Well, we're at the
Especially
end
when your
here.
piano's out of tune.
Yeah. Well, thank you for mentioning that, Sean, because that's what he keeps reminding me is how out of tune our piano is. And
Yeah, it made me realize it for the same reason.
Yeah, it is. It is quite out of tune every once in a while. I just cringe at thinking, oh, the piano teacher's got to be thinking, woman, please get that thing tuned. Oh, goodness. Well, Whitney has put in the link to our PDHs for today. So please fill that out, and Maria and Sean, you know, please fill that in as well. We appreciate your time and support in sharing your expertise with us. It's always enlightening, and I love every opportunity of engaging with each of you. I apologize I couldn't be on video to do that today. But thank you so much. Thank you for the inspiration. You have no idea how much, just honestly, I needed this today. You know, I think we're kind of settling in and we're kind of getting to it, but we're also looking at, gosh, you know, 3 more weeks of this. And, you know, we are kind of, I was talking to my sister, you know, we're just kind of missing that human element right now. So thank you. Thank you for inspiring me today. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
I would like to also say thank you to IDEA Illinois, Amber, everyone on your team. Just the support that you're all offering for at so many different levels in education has just been like, I don't know, big heart to you all for everything you're doing to continually help. Like right when this all started, like, okay, you all like jumped on and let's see what we could do to help everyone. And I just want to say thank you. I think it's been just absolutely incredible.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that. And that means a lot too. And I will share that with my team because they have been working nonstop and trying to find ways to support and, you know, offer what we can. You guys are on the front lines of it. So whatever we can do to help, we certainly want to be able to do that.
Thank you.
All right. Well, everybody have a wonderful rest of your day and a great weekend. And again, thank you so much for everything you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you
All right.
too.
Take care.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.